Welcome to the TExES 391 Core Subjects EC-6 Online Test Prep course, covering Subject Exam 1, English Language Arts and Reading, test number 901. This course is presented by Teacher Preps, your most trusted source to help you pass your teacher certification exam. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. Competency number 3 of the 391 Core Subjects ELAR exam includes a total of 10 standards, which are highlighted here. These are the set standards by the Texas Education Agency, and you will need to master all of this content in order to answer the questions correctly from this competency on your exam. Take a moment here to pause the video and read the highlighted standards. All right, great. This lesson covers all 10 of the standards within competency number 3. So if you're feeling worried at all about any of these descriptive statements, don't worry at all because I have you covered. Let's get started on this lesson. The first standard states the teacher knows the relationship between reading fluency and comprehension for students in grades 4 through 6. Let's cover this now. So we can begin with the importance of fluency. Now, a student who is fluent can focus on comprehension rather than decoding the words on the page, which leads to improved overall reading skills. This means that fluent readers don't get bogged down with trying to figure out what the words mean. In fact, they understand the vocabulary, so they're not focused on reading the words on the page, but on understanding the messages from these pages. This understanding is going to be extremely important for your exam, as the way comprehension and fluency work together in that they have what's called a reciprocal relationship, where fluency supports comprehension and comprehension enhances fluency. So the better a student becomes at one of these skills, this helps sharpen the other. All right, you're doing great so far. Let's head to the next competency standard. The second standard in competency number 3 states that the teacher understands that fluency involves rate, accuracy, and prosody, which remember is intonation, and knows the norms for reading fluency that have been established by the TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6. Let's cover this now. First, let's understand that reading fluency is a critical aspect of literacy, which directly influences a student's reading comprehension ability. Reading fluency is made up of 3 main aspects, which include accuracy, rate, and prosody. Prosody is the way you read. You can think of this as intonation. Fluent readers demonstrate accuracy by correctly pronouncing words during oral reading. In order to do this, readers need the skills of phonics, sight word knowledge, structural analysis skills, syllabic analysis skills, and orthographic knowledge. Remember, for your exam, this means spelling. On your exam, they might say spelling, or the test might use orthographic knowledge, which means spelling. Test tip. Accuracy is paramount. It's vital for fluency, as it allows readers to engage with the text without disruption. Remember this. The next aspect about reading is reading rate. Fluent readers must decode words and read phrases and sentences neither too quickly nor too slowly. The rate of reading may vary based on the content and purpose of the reading. Note here, such reading directions for assembling machinery, for example, you'll read that more slowly than reading a book of fiction. For your exam, remember that we need to teach students to become aware of self-monitoring the type of reading and the appropriate speed for that type of reading. The third aspect of reading fluency is prosody. Prosody refers to reading with appropriate expression. This includes the emphasis of certain words, variation in pitch, and also pausing. Prosody reflects a reader's understanding of sentence structure, pronunciation, and author's intent. So that's accuracy, rate, and prosody. Now let's cover the norms for reading fluency that have been established by TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6. First, students need to read grade level text with fluency and comprehension. This means that the students should be able to read text at their grade level with accuracy, appropriate rate, and expression, which means prosody, while also understanding the meaning of what they're reading. The next TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6 states students should read grade appropriate texts independently and self-select text to read independently for a sustained period of time. The next TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6 is developing and sustaining foundational language skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking. The student reads grade level text with fluency and comprehension. The student is expected to use appropriate fluency, such as rate, accuracy, and prosody, when reading the grade level of their text. The next TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6 is all about comprehension skills. Students at this age are expected to make predictions, create mental images to deepen understanding, make connections to personal experiences, make inferences, and use evidence to support understanding. Now, the final TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6 is inquiry and research, where the student is expected to generate questions on topics for formal and informal inquiry. Develop and follow a research plan with assistance from the teacher. Identify and gather relevant information from a variety of sources. And finally, distinguish between primary and secondary sources. Here we are at the third standard in competency number 3, which states that the teacher understands the connection of word identification skills and reading fluency to reading comprehension for students in grades 4 through 6. Let's cover this now. In the developmental journey of young readers, word identification plays a pivotal role in achieving reading fluency. Word identification is the key word in this standard, and it refers to the ability to decode or read words aloud correctly. Note that it does not necessarily mean grasping the meaning of the word. The key here is the concept of automaticity, where the child is able to read without becoming entangled in the process of decoding. Note here that these aspects of reading identification are great and all, but there are times where students will face challenges to reading fluency. Your exam may very likely check your understanding of what to do in this case, so let's help you prepare now. First, we have weak word analysis skills. This is the most prevalent obstacle for many students. Weak word analysis skills result in frequent stops to decode unfamiliar words, which is a double hindrance of slowing reading pace and diminishing comprehension. There are 3 more vital challenges students face to achieve fluent reading, and the next challenge students face often is lack of familiarity with content vocabulary. When reading content-specific vocabulary in areas like science or social studies, students can stumble on new words. The next challenge that you will want to be aware of for your exam is lacking background knowledge, which provides the context aiding in smooth reading. Lack of familiarity with the subject can lead to confusion and slowed reading, hindering the understanding of even simple text structures. The next challenge students will face is having a lack of familiarity with more complex syntactic structures. In higher grades, the complexity of sentence structures increases. If a reader is befuddled, confused, or just doesn't understand dependent and independent clauses, then reading pace will slow, and that will disrupt the fluency. This is particularly pertinent when dealing with more academic language in expository text. Remember, expository texts are informational texts, also known as nonfiction texts. In conclusion to this exam standard, note that the teacher must fully comprehend these intertwined elements, realizing that they are not isolated, but rather part of a web of learning to read that constitutes fluent reading. The fourth standard in Competency 3 states that the teacher understands differences in students' development of word identification skills and reading fluency and knows instructional practices for meeting students' individual needs in those areas for students in grades 4 through 6. Let's cover these topics now. We will begin with the role of fluency in reading development. In our previous discussion, we explored the foundational importance of fluency in reading development. The spotlight in this chapter will be on fluency instruction and assessment, targeting grades 4 through 6. Instructional strategies to enhance fluency, which, as you can recall, is comprised of accuracy, rate, and prosody, is pivotal for meaningful comprehension. Here are key strategies you'll want to remember. First strategy is called monitored oral reading, and it has a 3-step process that includes, number 1, the teacher models to the child how to read fluently and effectively. Step 2, the student practices. Here we want to encourage students to reread aloud the same text that we just read to them. And then step number 3, the teacher provides feedback to the student as tailored guidance, such as modeling accurate reading or noting pronunciation marks, and anything that might help the development of the reader improve their reading development. The second instructional strategy is called repeated reading. This method teaches fluency through repeated engagement. First, the student reads alone, and then the teacher encourages the student to reread texts on their own once they finish. Second, we have timed reading, which helps set attainable rate criteria for reading. The third variation is called media-assisted reading, where the student can utilize digital resources and recordings to listen to the book as they follow along with the actual book. And the fourth variation is called paired reading, which is collaborative reading with a partner. Moving on, let's not forget that this standard that we are focusing on for your exam has the phrase, the teacher understands differences in students' development of word identification skills. So let's cover this part now. Given that all students come into the classroom with a different set of needs, background, knowledge, and skill sets, the question becomes when and how to introduce fluency instruction to the class. For your exam, remember that fluency instruction must be holistic, addressing single-syllable words and multisyllabic words and connected text. The degree of instruction should be tailored to individual needs based on assessment. Now, in order to meet the needs of all of our learners in the classroom, we want and need a plan. We need a strategy. Here we go. How to build students' reading accuracy. To do this, make sure to focus on automatic word identification through explicit instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, and sight words. In order to help build and strengthen our students' reading rate, strategies you will need to be aware of for your exam include whisper reading and accountability in independent silent reading. Our final strategy that will help build students' prosody, which you can recall that prosody is the way we read out loud. So it's called our intonation. Now, to help our students with this, we use what's called phrase cued reading in order to help them with appropriate expression. In case you aren't familiar with phrase cued reading, this reading strategy encourages readers to move beyond word by word reading to recognize and appropriately read phrases within sentences. In this method, a teacher selects and marks a text using slash marks to indicate natural pauses and phrase boundaries in a sentence. For example, the Texas Rangers slash helpless most of the night slash scored 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth inning last night, and then double slash. Notice here how one slash counts for a comma, 2 slashes count for a period. The teacher explains the markings and reads the text aloud, modeling the proper reading of the phrases. The teacher and the students may then reread the text aloud together, following the marked phrases. Students may further practice with partners, alternating between reading aloud together and taking turns. The goal is to help students develop fluency by reading phrases with appropriate expression rather than by reading word by word. Turning back to our standard that this lesson is based on, so far you've learned the differences in students' development of word identification and reading fluency. You've learned the instructional practices all about reading fluency, and now it's time to cover the area of meeting the needs for all of our individual students' needs. For your exam, you will really want to be ready to answer questions about meeting the needs for struggling readers, English language learners, and advanced learners. For our struggling readers, make sure to use texts at the independent reading level, focus on sight words, and also provide additional practice. For our English learners, use modeling, phrase cued reading, and echo reading, which is when the teacher reads a word, a phrase, a sentence, or a page, and then the student rereads that same thing. This helps teach tonal patterns and correct pronunciation. Then for our advanced learners, challenge their reading level with increased complexity and building on to current skills. The landscape of fluency development is multifaceted and intricate. By employing these strategies outlined in this lesson, you can craft personalized pathways to fluency for every reader in your classroom. The fifth standard in competency number 3 states that the teacher selects and uses instructional strategies, materials, and activities to develop and improve fluency for students in grades 4 through 6. In the last lesson, we dove into the essential concept of understanding differentiation with respect to word identification and instruction for fluency. This lesson builds from that foundational knowledge. In this lesson, you will learn how to select and utilize the right strategies, materials, and activities to not only improve reading fluency for individual students, but for your entire class in grades 4 through 6. Up first, we have the role of decodable texts in fluent reading. In earlier lessons, we discussed the importance of decodable texts. Recall that these texts are filled with single-syllable words that correspond directly to their sounds and contain only a small amount of irregular, high-frequency words. For example, the fat cat sits on Ron's lap. These types of texts serve as vital tools for young readers in grades 4 through 6 as they begin to acquire foundational phonics skills and high-frequency sight words. But, as we know, education is an ever-evolving landscape. With time, decodable texts must evolve to accommodate students' expanding vocabularies. This transition is paramount for student success. They must harness a comprehensive grasp of high-frequency words, grow their understanding of content-related sight words, and master advanced letter-sound correspondences along with structural and syllabic analysis skills. After implementing decodable texts in the classroom to foster students' fluency levels, it becomes essential to move on to assessing the different aspects of reading fluency, ensuring that our instructional strategies are tailored to each student's unique development and needs. That being said, let's now discuss how to assess fluency. Fluency is best assessed through oral reading, taking into account developmental aspects and grade specific expectations. For accuracy, the target is 95%, and we use procedures like running records and miscue analysis to assess accuracy. During an assessment, find books at students' independent reading levels. Now let's discuss how to assess a student's reading rate. We used timed reading to assess reading rate and use a watch and calculate words correctly read per minute. Prosody can be informally assessed by listening for appropriate pitch, response to pronunciation, and also characterization. Next, in the context of reading fluency for students in grades 4 through 6, assessment serves three critical purposes, which include number one, entry level assessment. This initial evaluation is used to pinpoint the specific fluency instruction needs of each student. And now, by understanding their individual reading abilities at the onset of instruction for a specific unit or skill, we can tailor our instruction to address their unique requirements. Second, we have progress monitoring assessment. Through continuous and informal monitoring, teachers keep track of students' development during monitored oral reading lessons and repeated reading activities. These assessments enable us to make necessary adjustments to our teaching strategies, ensuring that students are progressing effectively. Third, we have the summative assessment, and this involves forming and making formal measures of oral reading at the conclusion of the instructional period. Summative assessments provide a comprehensive understanding of student achievements in reading fluency and indicate areas where further support or intervention may be needed. Moving on, we have our next topic of instructional strategies, materials, and activities. For your exam, it will be vital to understand how a comprehensive and tailored approach to address diverse learning needs fosters reading proficiency. Let's cover that now. First, we have tailored interventions, where us, you and me, teachers, we use phonics and sight word skills for students with weak word analysis skills. Next, we use direct vocabulary teaching for students struggling with content vocabulary. Also, provide background knowledge when students lack understanding of the subject matter. And lastly, we use complex sentence practice for students who are struggling with more advanced syntactic structures. In this lesson, you learned about the multifaceted approach to selecting and using instructional strategies, materials, and activities to develop and improve fluency for students in grades 4 through 6 that are essential for enhancing reading fluency and achieving educational objectives tailored to individual student needs and grade-specific expectations. Fluency in reading comprehension is of paramount significance for students in grades 4 through 6. For your core subjects, ELAR exam, the development of fluency demands a nuanced understanding, particularly in the context of independent silent reading. Let's dive into this important area regarding teaching strategies for reading books independently now. One might ideally believe that independent silent reading left to its own devices would naturally lead students to fluency, but it's not so straightforward. While there is a place for silent reading in the cultivation of fluency, it comes with inherent limitations. Without oversight, a child who appears to be silent reading might continuously be reading inaccurately, too slowly, or totally lifelessly. For your exam, you'll have to know the remedy for this. Do you have an answer? Let's dive into these strategies for reading books independently now. How to make independent silent reading more effective in supporting fluency development. You might be asking yourself, well, should we then just abandon the pursuit of independent silent reading? And the answer is far from it. We'll use these two strategies, which you'll want to remember for your exam. Number one, provide books at appropriate reading levels. The books students select must be neither too easy nor too difficult. And then number two, hold students accountable for comprehension. Accountability serves as a guidepost for students maintaining their path toward fluency. Teachers might include student maintained reading logs, book reports, oral presentations, partner reading discussions, or individual conferences. You might now be asking, what's the best way to do that? Well, let's talk about strategies to foster independent reading that you'll want to know for your exam. First, we can help our students set reading goals. And this is going to be important. Whether it's reading a certain number of pages daily or finishing a specific number of books monthly, setting goals can boost commitment. Another strategy appropriate for fostering students' independent reading level is creating discussion groups. Forming book clubs or discussion clubs where students can discuss what they've read, which will enhance their reading comprehension. And our third strategy for you is to use technology as a tool. Leveraging ebooks, audiobooks, and interactive reading apps can greatly assist in comprehension, especially when dealing with challenging content. The seventh standard in competency number 3 states that the teacher provides students with appropriate opportunities to engage in silent reading and extended reading of a wide range of materials, including informational texts and texts from various literary genres, as outlined in the TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills for grades 4 through 6. Now let's dive into these key points to help you prepare for your exam. First, we have the importance of silent and extended reading. Silent reading allows students to practice independent reading skills, develop reading fluency, and enhance comprehension. Furthermore, extended reading offers students opportunities to explore diverse topics, expand their vocabulary, and deepen their understanding of different genres. Remember, as a teacher, creating a reading rich environment is vital to our students' reading development. On your exam, when presented with questions regarding the classroom environment, look for answers that include establishing a classroom library that includes a wide variety of books, including informational texts, fiction, nonfiction, biographies, and poetry. Also, make sure to arrange reading materials in accessible and inviting displays, ensuring students have many choices. Next, make sure to arrange reading materials in accessible and inviting displays, ensuring students have ample choices. In the last lesson, we discussed strategies for teachers to monitor students' independent silent reading. Now let's discuss strategies that encourage deeper reading for our students. Silent reading strategies. These might include teaching students effective silent reading strategies such as finding a comfortable reading spot, focusing on the text, making connections, visualizing, and self-monitoring their comprehension. Moreover, encourage students to read silently for sustained periods of time, gradually increasing their reading stamina. As laid out by the Texas Education Agency framework, incorporating informational texts leads students to read with a greater variety. Introduce students to a range of informational texts, including articles, textbooks, magazines, and online resources. And teach them how to locate and extract information, analyze text structures, and develop critical thinking skills. Remember, by providing students with regular opportunities for silent and extended reading across various genres, you are fostering their love of reading, expanding their knowledge, and promoting critical thinking skills. Knowing this will help you adhere to the TExES Essential Knowledge and Skills guidelines and provide you with a better chance of acing your exam. Understanding how to encourage reading for pleasure is essential for becoming an effective teacher. The eighth standard in competency number 3 states that the teacher uses strategies to encourage reading for pleasure and lifelong learning. In today's discussion, we will focus on an essential key component of effective reading instruction, which is creating a reading culture in our classroom environment. First, we can design a classroom environment that celebrates books and reading. Set up cozy reading corners, display books prominently, create a positive atmosphere that values reading. And of course, model our own enthusiasm for reading by sharing our favorite books and discussing our own reading experiences. Actively recommend books to students based on their own interests, reading levels, and provide more experiences, more opportunities for further reading. Another strategy is to engage students in book discussions. Organize book clubs or reading groups where students can come together to discuss the books that they've read. Encourage students to share their thoughts, ask questions, and engage in meaningful conversations all about the books that they're reading. Next, we can also use guidelines and questions, discussions, prompts to facilitate deeper analysis and critical thinking. Implementing reading challenges also works very well. Here we can introduce reading challenges or reading incentive programs to motivate our students. Set achievable goals, providing tracking tools, and offer rewards or recognition for meeting their goals, their milestones. By implementing these strategies, you can create a classroom environment that encourages reading for pleasure and promotes lifelong learning. Remember, cultivating a love for reading goes beyond academic success. It empowers students to become curious, lifelong learners. In this section of our test prep course, we will explore the critical interrelationship between reading fluency and the other integral components of reading. Next, let's dive into these key points that you need to know to pass your exam. As a recap to our reading fluency lessons previously, recall that reading fluency refers to the ability to read with accuracy, speed, which is called rate, and also expression, which is called prosody. Fluent readers are able to decode words effortlessly and comprehend the text effectively. Furthermore, recall that fluency is built upon foundational skills such as phonics, phonological awareness, and word recognition. It plays a significant role in enhancing reading comprehension. Here we have phonics and word recognition. Phonics instruction focuses on the relationship between sounds and letters, helping students decode words and develop word recognition skills. Fluent readers apply their knowledge of phonics and word recognition to read words accurately and quickly, which in turn improves their overall reading fluency. Let's look at vocabulary development. Building a robust vocabulary is essential for comprehension. Fluent readers possess a wide range of words and understanding their meanings in various contexts. Now let's look at vocabulary development. Building a robust vocabulary is essential for comprehension. Fluent readers possess a wide range of words and understand their meanings in various contexts. A strong vocabulary enables students to read fluently by recognizing and understanding words quickly, leading to enhanced comprehension of the texts. The interrelationship of fluency, word analysis skills, and comprehension in reading. Let's take a look at it. In the context of reading, fluency is integral to comprehension, and this is explained by the theory of automaticity. This theory shows that reading involves two main functions. First, the decoding of words and grasping the text's meaning. Without fluency, readers may become entrenched in the decoding process, distracting them from understanding the text's meaning. Conversely, fluent readers can quickly and accurately identify words, which allows their cognitive resources to focus on interpreting the text's meaning. Additionally, proper expression or intonation, called prosody, is vital for text comprehension. A monotone and steady reading pace can hinder understanding, especially in complex texts. Therefore, fluency, encompassing both automaticity in word identification and expressive reading, is essential for comprehending texts. And this is interrelated with word analysis skills and background knowledge. Remember, reading fluency is not an isolated skill, but is interconnected with various components of reading. By recognizing this and addressing this relationship, you can support students in developing their overall reading abilities. The 10th and final standard within Competency 3 is that the teacher understands how to foster collaboration with families and with other professionals to promote all students' reading fluency in grades 4 through 6. Collaboration plays a vital role in supporting students' overall reading development. Let's now explore the key points you need to know for your exam. First, we have the importance of collaboration. Collaborating with families and other professionals creates a supportive network that enhances students' reading fluency. It allows for a comprehensive approach to meet the diverse needs of all of your students. Next, we have communicating with our families. Establish open and regular communication with the families of the teachers that you teach. Next, we have communicating with families. Establish open and regular communication with families to exchange information about students' reading progress and areas for improvement. Share strategies that families can use at home to support reading fluency, such as providing a print-rich environment, encouraging reading aloud, and engaging in discussions about the books that they're reading at home. For family involvement in reading, make sure to encourage families to actively participate in their child's reading journey by setting aside dedicated reading time, visiting libraries, and engaging in shared reading activities. Provide families with resources such as book recommendations and reading strategies to help them support their child's reading fluency at home. Collaborating with colleagues such as reading specialists, literary coaches, and special educators to address the specific needs of our diverse learning profiles is vital, very important. Remember, share information and insights, and also effective communication, as well as instructional practices, will help support the reading fluency across all of our students in our classroom. Now, let's talk about professional development. Engage in professional development opportunities focused on reading instruction and fluency enhancement. Stay updated with current research, evidence-based practices, and instructional strategies related to reading fluency. Collaborate with colleagues during professional development activities to exchange ideas and experiences that can inform your teaching practices. Next, we have individual support. Remember, collaborate with families and professionals to develop individualized plans to support students who may require additional interventions or accommodations for improving reading fluency. Remember, fostering collaboration with families and professionals is crucial for promoting students' reading fluency. By working together, you can create a supportive and engaging learning environment that enhances students' reading skills. In summarizing Competency 3, reading fluency, it's essential to recognize that fluency is not an isolated skill, but deeply interconnected with comprehension, word identification, rate, accuracy, prosody, and intonation. Understanding these connections and implementing targeted strategies to improve fluency not only supports grade level content mastery, but also fosters a lifelong love of reading, creating a foundation for educational success. And this is exactly what you need to do in your classroom and also know for your exam.